All right, here we go. Back week number 8 for picks. I got some bad news. We came in second to last week. Weirdly enough, the only team that finished worse than us was the first place team. So I don't know what that means exactly. Was it a wonky week? Was it something else? I hate when people say, I was listening to stuff earlier today. I hate when people say, "Oh man, it was such a weird week." Like every week's weird, man. Like try finding a week where someone doesn't say that. That would be the weird. But yeah, no. So we came in second to last, and we're now like we're basically in a 6-way tie for second. So it got really bunched up here because of this. Yeah, I don't really know what happened. I'll take the Thursday Night Football. I'll take the blame. I forgot to update it. No scheduling issue. But there's our 13 wrong. Atlanta loses for 16. Tampa loses for 15. New England loses for 14. Miami loses for 10. Green Bay for 9. Man, it was rough. We got Seattle for 12, Dallas for 11, Tennessee for 3, and Giants for 8. So, I mean, just rough week. Kansas City for 7 as well.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
But hopefully we can rebound. How's your Sunday? Anything special?
No, nothing really stood out. Bye week is tough in fantasy, and I think that just kind of makes the week. I don't know. Like there's always that week once per year where it just feels like all like the good teams are just not playing, or like the best of the best, and I feel like it hit harder than ever this year. No Bills, no Eagles, so that's S tier of football, and then a bit of a decline. But I mean, no Vikings, no Rams. Like that's pretty tough. And I think that I speak for most when I say that's where a lot of your key fantasy guys are. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun week. Another awesome Giants win, but nothing much else to write home about.
Yeah, a little slow on the games. It was weird. The Falcons game was pretty rough. The Giants game was the only good game, I feel like.
Honestly, yeah.
The rest are it's kind of weird day of football in terms of entertainment. But nevertheless, guess we need it here. We got to get back on track. Maybe get a week victory. If not, catch up, get back into a sole second for the year. First up, weird game here. Ravens at the Bucks. It's currently -1 for Tampa with 70% of the cash on the Ravens. Let's see. I'll pull up the picks now on CBS. I think it was a true pick 'em when I looked at it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But let's see. Let me pull it up. Yeah, so we're getting it. So weird. Now it's now -1.5 or -1 Tampa. We're getting it at +1.5 Tampa. I had Baltimore for one of the lowest. I don't trust Tampa at all. I'm gonna let them prove it to me, especially on the road at Baltimore I guess they're home, but especially on a short week, I don't really see them being. I don't know what's right with them, but they might need more than 3 days to fix it. The stat too I saw was Baltimore's only trailed 12 seconds all year.
Yeah,
pretty crazy. As bad as they have seen the past couple of weeks, I mean, they're still playing winning football. So
yeah, no, totally. It's to what you just said. We'll wait for Tampa to prove it to us, and also let's just get greedy from like a fantasy perspective. I'd much rather root for Lamar than pick against him. So it should hopefully be a fun game. Like it's two teams that are just kind of like. I don't know. Baltimore's obviously having a much better season, but it's not saying much because it's Tampa. But it's two teams that, on their day, they should be some of the best in football. Obviously, again, that just hasn't been the case for Tampa. So if for whatever reason these two teams just decide, oh, you know what, let's actually play to what we're capable of, then maybe this will be an awesome game. And just given the line and given where we have them, we could just root for a good game and worry about Lamar and maybe Bateman.
Yeah. Trying to... It's been weird for both these teams for sure, but just because we're not seeing, it's almost tough. Like you saw that one Lamar year where he's the best quarterback in the world, so you view him on such a curve. But they're still a good football team. Next up, also we are 1-5 in the last 6 weeks of Thursday Night Football, including some big ones. Like last week we messed up, but Denver against the Colts was huge.
That was the worst.
It has not been good on Thursday Night Football at all.
Good to know.
The only one we got right was Washington beat the Bears, right? I think they won that game.
Yeah, I was in Nashville though. I think I was. Yeah, that was my last night there. So
that was the only game we've won since the Bills beat the Rams. And next up, Broncos at the Jags. Currently, Jags -2.5. This game is in Germany or London, one of the two.
I think this one's London. I think Tampa's in
London.
Germany next week, right? Is that how it
Okay,
works?
yeah,
Something like that. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so this one's in London. Currently 61% of the cash. We're getting it weird over a key number. So it's Jacksonville -3.5. Now it's down to Jacksonville -2.5. A little bit of movement again through numbers. I originally had Jacksonville down pretty confidently. There's somehow, if you look at the underlying metrics, some of them still have Jacksonville as like the 6th best team in the league.
Jeez.
Which I don't know, because you look at them and it's not even like the Ravens, where it's like, yeah, this team's talented, even if they're not playing well. I mean, obviously, huge disparity in record, but like Jacksonville, I still point out a player where I'm like, yep, that guy can go out and be the best player on the field any given Sunday. Sure. But I mean, geez, it looks like Russ is going to play for better or for worse. I don't know. I like Jacksonville. I think Denver's kind of a get right game for anyone. So.
Yeah, no, totally. I don't have much else to say. Both these teams are strange. I mean, Jacksonville, they played the Giants pretty tight, but the Giants play every team tight until the very end. So I don't really have much of a read other than the fact that Denver plays the exact same game every single time. So it's going to be ugly. I'd expect either side to be making plenty of mistakes. I don't know. I'd say go Jacksonville just because we at least kind of know what we're getting with them, and also now know James Robinson, so it's a more defined backfield, I guess. So again, for better or for worse, I don't know, but I guess we'll just have to see. The Broncos are definitely going to make Trevor Lawrence make some pretty difficult passes, which he's clearly shown that he can't do. Yeah, I forget what the number was, but like on any passes of 15 to 30 yards, he's like, I don't know, like a ridiculously small number in terms of completions within that range. So he's not throwing the semi-deep ball well. So I don't know. Maybe they can get to him and keep this game tight. But regardless, I do think the Jags are just a little better.
Yeah, I'm trying. I mean, that's a big 3.5 to 2.5 is a big drop. So I'm like trying to think maybe they didn't think Russ was going to play a couple of days ago, and now they do. But it's still pretty, I guess, a point.
But even when he was a late scratch last week, the line didn't even move, right, against the Jets.
Yeah, it's tough to know when they know, right? Like, do they know? Because like I think it moved from like it just moved through 0, so it really wasn't that big a deal. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel like 3.5 to 2.5, I guess maybe it's not. Yeah, I think it's a bigger deal than 1.5 to 1. So I don't know, but nevertheless, I mean, one thing that I was reading, it's pretty interesting to think about. Because I'm on team quarterback play is way more dependent on receiver play.
Yeah.
Most people are willing to recognize.
For sure.
All off season, it's like, he's going from Metcalf and Lockett to Sutton and Judy. What if Sutton and Judy are just like both bad receivers?
Yeah.
It's possible. Like they're definitely fine, but I don't know. I think there's a chance they're like the 25th best receivers in the league.
Oh no, I totally agree. I was always less high on Judy because I don't know, like he's more of just a yards after catch guy. It seems like where he can get open kind of like just through the middle of the field, and like I feel like Russ likes to throw in the middle of the field, and I don't know, that's not working. And Sutton was this big, deep ball sort of Lockett guy. That's not really working. So I don't know. I mean, again, Russ isn't making it any better, but yeah, they don't really they don't separate themselves whatsoever from Metcalf and Lockett, and look what they're doing with what at the start of the season you consider far worse quarterback play, but now not the case. So who the hell knows?
Next up, Bears at the Cowboys. Currently Cowboys -9.5. 65% of the cash is on Dallas. We are still getting it for 9.5. I believe I had Dallas for 10. Chicago, I mean, it's tough not to believe in Justin Fields, after watching that game. It's like, man, just when I thought I was out, we pulled me back in. But this seems like a recipe for disaster. Justin Fields facing a defensive line pressure every single snap. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, he's a lot better at running. I forget where I heard this, but he's a lot better at running when he wants to run versus when he has to run. Like when it's a designed run, then he looks like elite. But when it's like, oh shit, I got to get out of here. Like, I mean, you saw it on multiple occasions in that New England game. Like he'd fumble the ball and then he'd have to improvise and it didn't look great, except for maybe that one first down run he had. But then when there were those designed runs where it was, him rolling right with the running back as well, or rolling left, whatever it was, like those look good. I don't think he's going to get those. Obviously against Dallas, they're going to bring a lot more pressure, and they're obviously just a lot more of a capable defense than New England. I still put down Chicago, but I put it super low, just because I was like, I had zero read on this one whatsoever.
Yeah, I wonder what the pick will be here, because I think when I was looking through how he finished so low last week, I think everyone basically took New England last week. So I don't know. I guess people like betting against Chicago too. We took New England anyway, but I just found it interesting.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, I don't know. The thing that we had them low, but every single person took the Jets, which I don't feel bad about. Except like if we were one of two people to take Denver, which if 15 people are going to take the Jets, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I don't care who it is.
No, for sure.
But anyway, yeah, I think that's a good point, because I thought about it a lot when it looked like the Falcons might draft these guys, because the whole point of the discussion was Lance and Fields, so mobile. They're both pretty awful at scrambling. The best scramblers are Mack and Lawrence in that class. They're very athletic and they're very good runners, but I mean, scrambling is all about pocket presence more than anything. I mean, Mahomes runs like a 4.7 and he's the best scrambler in the league, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. So it's interesting, but it's a good point. I put Dallas for pretty low. Next up, Cardinals at the Vikings. Two weird teams. It's currently minus 3.5 for the Vikes. 84% of the cash is on Arizona. We're also getting it for 3.5. It's weird. Maybe I'm with most people, but I kind of hate both of these teams.
Yeah.
I don't really. And hate's not even the words. I feel like I'm higher. I don't know. Cardinals, I'm higher on than most people, but I think they're like the 20th best team. And then Vikings, I think they're like the 16th best team. So yeah. I don't know. I'm neither high or low on these teams. I think they're maybe in the same tier, but opposite sides of the tier. So 3.5 seems right to me. But it seems like the Cardinals have been getting some better results than maybe they've earned recently. So I was going to go with Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Minnesota as well. Excuse me. I totally agree. I think that Minnesota they're 5-1, but again, watching them pretty closely, just again, having a few Vikings through different fantasy leagues, like they just never really impressed me. It's like Dalvin Cook is not the Dalvin Cook of a few years ago. Even Justin Jefferson, like, he gets open a ton, but what he only has like 1 or 2 touchdowns, something like that. Like the offense isn't this crazy offense that we were promised. With Kevin O'Connell, that was sort of this whole thing. It's like, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp light or Cooper Kupp 2.0, yada, yada, yada. That's just going to be absolute air raid, nonstop, like scoring. And that just really hasn't been the case at all. And their defense is fine, but they're just like a fine football team. Whereas the Cardinals are probably not a fine football team, but I don't know. They can kind of punch up to the higher class, but then they'll also play way, way, way down to the other, the bottom half of the league. So I don't know. I have zero read, but it would feel weird for me for Minnesota to lose with them coming off of a bye. So even if Arizona had the baby bye of Thursday, I feel pretty good about Minnesota.
Yeah, I saw all of Minnesota's efficiency stats are down from last year, which is like they get Kevin O'Connell. Everyone rants about Mike Zimmer and his offensive scheme. But the thing about Zimmer was always, I mean, yeah, he wasn't an offensive friendly coach, but he was never touching the offense. And he had like pretty smart guys running that offense basically every year he was there. I mean, everyone hated Kubiak, but at the end of the day, he was running a good scheme. Whether or not he was a good play caller, that's one thing. But he basically brought in Kevin O'Connell to run the same exact scheme as Kubiak, just called different plays within the scheme. So, I mean, I never thought it was going to be as crazy of a change. Maybe they were going to pass more, but in terms of efficiency, I don't know. This was always a pretty efficient offense. It just was a little bit weird in the play calling. Next up, geez, I'm looking at this and I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's New England Patriots at the Jets. Jets plus 2.5 currently. We are getting it for plus 1.5. So getting a point on the side we like, which is nice. 81% of the cash is on New England, and I see one of my favorite guys, Mac Jones, going into New England against a team everyone seems to be high on in the Jets, and this is just a recipe for me putting it as high as I possibly can. So
yeah, I regret not putting it a little bit higher, just looking at my list, and the more I think about it, it's like I think it kind of backfired last week when or when New England played Chicago, I think that the game plan was obviously they wanted to be, make Justin Fields throw the ball, but through better or for worse, they kind of, credit to the Bears, they made adjustments and they found a way to actually run the ball and run the ball effectively. I mean, they had to throw, it wasn't horrible. I think the quarterback situation was just, as we discussed offline, just a mess last week. And I hope that isn't the case again. I don't think it's going to be. I think that have they confirmed that Mac is going to start?
Yeah, that's what Rap tweeted today, that he's going to start.
So that's just, it makes me feel a little bit better. Also, the fact that, that can't be easy for anyone to just go into your first game back and have the home or the home fans boo you, and then have this, for better or for worse, just fourth rounder come in and he can show some flashes, but like, come on, like what?
Yeah, I mean, he made 2 passes. He threw a double cover jump ball to Devontae Parker.
That
he had a wide open play action dunk.
And he stripped it from whoever the corner was. So that should have been a pick. And that the dunk to Jacoby was, credit to Jacoby for catching that in for us. But no, all that to say, this will be the ultimate. Belichick is going to make Zach Wilson throw, and that's going to be an absolute nightmare. So
no Breece Hall. I mean, I'm not team running back matters, but I think Breece Hall in this scheme is definitely
for sure. Yeah.
I mean, especially the Jets. I mean, if they're only going to score 16 points, one of them is going to have to be an explosive play from Breece Hall. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I mean, James Robinson at one point was good, but even when he was good, he was never an explosive play guy. So I don't really get that.
No, yeah, that's an interesting one for me. Like, people are kind of hyping it up, but I don't know. He was getting probably the exact same amount of work in Jacksonville, and it was cool for like a week, and now he's just kind of like, oh yeah, he's just whatever. He's just another running back in a tandem scheme that everyone seems to be doing. So I don't know. This is definitely not we're good.
I don't even see how it makes sense. Like schematic, like him and Michael Carter, the same exact back, except Robinson's just heavier, which is like not what the Jets need. You don't you need speed. You don't need another guy who runs slowly like through the hole. And I think Carter's fine, but it just seems redundant to me. Like, you're sending a 6th-round pick just so a guy can get hit 12 times a game totally for negative yardage. I don't get it. It's weird, but I mean, it'll never happen. But it was fun on Monday looking at the Mac Jones, what the value would be. My favorite was him going to the Niners. That would be chef's kiss, man. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that would have been so much. But then I was texting him, I'm like, Lance for Mac, like, who says no? And like the Pats do, So I don't know what the trade would have had to be, but it was fun for a minute because especially how much I like Mac. So because even Mac in Atlanta, I mean, Mac's I won't get into it, but he's mobile enough too, where I feel like that gets so underrated in his skill set.
Yeah, for sure.
Throws bombs. He's mobile. He's like, I think he's similar to Tannehill, but at this age, who knows what he could be in 5 years. Tannehill wasn't like this when he was a first year guy.
You just gotta bring up the fact that he played tennis as a kid. That's what people love to say that during the whole draft.
Hey, it
process.
Shows. Yeah, that footwork. Was crazy. I remember
elite footwork.
Oh man, I'm getting back into the draft because this year is gonna be good too. It's 3 guys that should go top 5. It's looking like, and it's gonna be the same thing where it won't be as good, but the top guy is Bryce Young from Alabama, but he's like 5'8". So I doubt he goes number 1 just because of that. Mm-hmm. The second guy, Stroud from Ohio State. He's just like the prototypical, like good, solid, good size, good arm, good everything. And then the third guy is Will Levis from Kentucky, who's like 23, but he's got like a rocket arm. He throws a tons of picks. He can't read an offense. So it'll be fun again.
The 3 guys going
high. Yeah, and 3 guys with all different skills.
All are different. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Next up, Raiders at the Saints. Currently, Saints plus 1.5, 69% of the cash on Vegas. It sucks because, like, I don't know. I feel like that was a mentally weak move taking the Texans last week. I feel like the Raiders are talented enough to blow anyone out. Doesn't matter if it's the Texans or the Titans, right? They could blow anyone out. It was just seeing a 7.5 next to Vegas. It's like, fuck, it's tough. Yeah. But I feel like the same exact thing we said would happen did happen. So it's like, why didn't we just bet it? We said the only way this is close if the Raiders completely lay an egg. But the second they get above 27, this is
it was just that was it.
And it's tough because I don't really know what the Saints are. These are two the Raiders' record's tough, but I feel like they're pretty talented. They're good on offense. The Saints, I mean, their stats with Dalton are actually kind of really good. But then he goes out last week. He throws all those picks. But even when I still thought the offense looked pretty good last week, even with those picks from Dalton.
Yeah, no.
I couldn't figure out where to put this, so I just put Vegas for the lowest.
I think I did the same thing. Yeah.
Dalton's coming out and starting this week, they said. We'll see if the Saints get some guys back on offense too, but it's tough. Two teams I don't think anyone has good grasp on.
No, totally. We could go through the list and maybe we could do it after, just a quick exercise. But like, there are teams where I have such a strong opinion on. There are teams where I have no read on whatsoever. And then there are teams where it's just like, depending on the matchup, you feel good, but other weeks you don't have it. To me, I think that Vegas and New Orleans are the two where I just almost have zero opinion, just for a variety of the reasons that you just laid out. It's with Vegas, they're probably the best. What are they, 2-5 now? The best 2-5 team in like history. But
yeah.
Then you look at New Orleans, and it's just hard to ever count out New Orleans, despite the fact that Andy Dalton is their quarterback and they're so banged up on offense. They always find a way to stay competitive in games. So who knows? There's a reason we have them last, but it would be kind of fun to go back. Sad as it is to say, we're about at the midway point through this, but just to look at the games and the teams and see who we have ranked last each week, and if there's any sort of trend, because
it's definitely these.
I really feel like these guys are they're a lot. But maybe a discussion for another time.
That's for sure. Actually, I haven't thought of it that way. And it's interesting because what I want to say is like, yeah, these teams can beat or lose anyone, but not in the way like the Cardinals or the Chargers.
No, yeah.
Like, they play good games. It's just sometimes they win the good games, sometimes they lose the bad games. Totally. Or the good games. So it's tough. Next up, everyone's loving this line. I don't care. I also think it's a lock. Atlanta minus 4.5 home to the Carolina Panthers.
Yep.
And if the Bucs lose tomorrow night, this game is for first place.
First place
for both teams. 75% of the cash is on Atlanta. I mean, they're home last week. Unfortunately, the fact of the matter is that they're a rebuilding team with a stopgap quarterback. And games like last week happen sometimes, but especially when your top, or I think it was 4 of the top 5 corners are now hurt. Looks like maybe the third of those 5 guys might come back this week. But I mean, you don't need much to cover the Panthers' weapons. So not too concerned. And again, if you had to pick a team to run the Falcons' offensive scheme against to not get out of schedule, this would be the team.
Yeah.
Falcons are going to have a lot of chances to have 12-run, 8-minute drives.
For sure.
So I'm fine with it.
Nope. I feel exactly the same. Lock it in.
Yeah. It's
last week, maybe we were a little bullish, again, maybe Cincinnati is starting to kind of figure things out. I think we were justifiably harsh on them to start the season, and rightly so. I mean, it worked for us basically up until last week, I think. So we'll use that in the coming weeks. We'll grade Cincinnati in a better way. But and actually, I think I might have left them out of this week's picks. Hence why I have one spot at the bottom. But we'll get to that in a second. But no, I feel very good going back to Atlanta once again as our number 1 spot. Let's just keep riding it until it really burns us like consecutively. 1 week, what's the big deal?
Yeah, right. And I'm thinking it's just weird because I don't know. Even though the final score was bad, I mean, it was 28. They still had 17 points at halftime.
Yeah,
28-17 when they had the ball coming out of half. So I don't know. It didn't work out.
No,
but
they were in the game more than the final score would suggest.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a game that we know is in the range of outcomes. Like Marcus Mariota with that scheme against, we know the Bengals can do it. It's just that they refuse to do it. So.
Yeah.
Whatever. Next up, Steelers at the Eagles. Steelers over the key number, getting 10.5 here. 74% of the cash is on Pittsburgh. I had this pretty high. I don't know. Kind of want to back off it a little bit, but I mean, 10.5 is a big number. And the Eagles have been playing very slow recently. It's funny because all these articles came out the first couple of weeks of the year saying how the Eagles, because there's some teams like the Bills and the Chiefs, doesn't matter if they're up by 20, they're just going to keep gassing it.
Yep.
And after the first couple of weeks, people were saying that for the Eagles. I'm like, no way. I'm like, this is an efficient offense, and this is an offense that will certainly pass when the game's in a neutral script, right? It's not that they're protecting her. It's just when this team gets a lead, they just shut it down. It's it's not like Atlanta or San Fran, or it's not like Atlanta at all, where they refuse to throw the ball. It's just when they get a lead, this offense really goes into a shell. And I think Pittsburgh, they got enough weapons to, 27-17. I mean, that's easy, I feel like.
Yeah,
so.
no, completely. Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh we say a lot of the same things from week over week, but it's because they hold true. And Pittsburgh's just a well-coached team. We saw it against Miami.
How they didn't lose that game by 30 points? I don't know.
It's insane. But again, they made the defensive adjustments necessary. And Pickett is, he's a rookie quarterback, but Pickens, however, is a beast, and they got to continue feeding that guy because he's awesome. And yeah, I mean, their offense is like absolutely nothing to write home about, but they have enough guys, and they have a quarterback who's going to put those guys in a somewhat decent spot every now and again. So they're going to be in every single game, but they're also probably going to be getting these ridiculous spreads for, I don't know about the remainder of the season, but I do think that there is some value to be had on a lot of Steelers spreads coming up.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't know. I just don't get it. Like, if this is the Bill, I mean, the Bills were only given what? Weren't they given 10.5 to Steelers too, or 13?
The line eventually moved, I think. Yeah, but I think it probably opened her in the same spot, and look what happened there. Just maybe it's
such different team. Yeah, the Bills are going to throw the ball for 45 minutes.
Exactly.
The Eagles might throw the ball for 20 minutes in this game. It's tough. I mean, they're certainly 10 points better than the Steelers, but it's hard to. I don't think the Eagles can activate game flows that make them 10 points better than the Steelers.
Right.
50% of the time. Next up, Dolphins at the Lions. Love this one. One of our favorite teams, one of our least favorite teams. Weird game for the Lions last week. Pretty out of character. I mean, I guess the offense was in character, but
yeah, where the hell was the offense?
I don't know if it says more about Dak or the Lions defense. I'm guessing Dak. But this just seems like a smash spot for Miami to put up Tyreek Hill. Maybe he gets 200. Maybe Waddle gets 150 and a touchdown. The Lions don't have talent, never mind speed, to match Waddle, Mostert, and Waddle, Mostert, and Hill. So I got Miami second highest.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where I have him. Yeah, I have him second highest as well. Too, this is it's a smash spot. This is the kind of week where it's like, all right, you know what? Like let's forget about the other night. I don't know. The game plan was fine, right? They were basically trying to get the ball out of his hands as fast as possible, and why not just get into the ball get into the hands of your playmakers. And I mean, they'll easily be able to do that against Detroit's secondary, especially, and they'll probably take some more deep shots till it begins to get more comfortable. So this could get ugly really fast, and I'm excited to watch it.
51% of the cash on Detroit.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Weird. It's funny too how it's going into the season seemed a little bit weird. What I kept thinking in my head is like, man, the Lions and the Texans really tanked. They're going to be too good this year to get Stroud and Young and all the top quarterbacks. But I don't know. Time's a flat circle. Chiefs and Bills are the best, and Lions and Texans are the worst. So who knows? Speaking of which, next up, Titans at the Texans. Currently Houston +2, 50% of the cash is on Houston. I think. Yeah, so we're getting it for. I thought this was a weird line yesterday because we're getting it for Houston +1.5. So I guess not that weird. I think Tannehill's playing. I'm not sure on that though. If not, this will be a pretty weird game. I mean, I still don't put it past Derrick Henry and Willis to put up 300 yards rushing on the Texans. On the Texans. So currently, I see you have it pretty high.
Yeah,
I had it. I had Houston, I guess, at the time. Maybe I thought Willis was playing at the time. But
I think regardless of who plays, I just trust Tennessee. It's like, we both like Tannehill enough, right? He's not anything spectacular, but I mean, regardless of who the quarterback is, I think they're going to have a game plan. They're going to stick to it. Derrick Henry's going to touch the ball 40 times, run the ball down their throat. And at this point in the season, I think that we could probably safely say that Houston's the worst team in football. They were like kind of frisky to start the year. I mean, I guess you would put Detroit in that mix as well, but at least Detroit like has a few guys. You know, you could probably name 5 Detroit players like instantly, whereas Houston, I don't know. So we'll see. I think I am just generally higher on Tennessee than most, but this just feels like the kind of thing that they do. They beat the teams they need to beat, and then when they kind of start to play those upper class teams like the Bills earlier this season, it's just, it's not pretty.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm like, I was so high on the Titans, ready to come in and just like smash them week 1, and they're slowly earning my confidence back after that Giants loss.
Yeah.
But for sure, I mean, this is just, it's weird. They're almost like the Steelers. They're a program, and they win the games they need to win.
Totally.
Next up, Commanders at the Colts. Currently, Colts -3. 71% of the cash is on Washington. I didn't know what to do this game. It's like, how do you predict Sam Ellinger against Taylor Heineke? It's tough. I don't think these rosters are big enough apart where I wouldn't take the points. So I took Washington, but hard to tell.
Yeah, I have Washington as well. I don't know. It's just it's a toss up. I kind of believe in the Heineke bounce factor. Clearly the team just has something else when he plays, and maybe again this just unfortunately speaks to the fact that, I mean, it seems like every team Carson Wentz has ever left, there's just been nothing but bad things to say about the guy. So this will probably be it for him. And I mean, to be honest, if things continue the way they're continuing, and it's only 1 week and they beat a pretty, I don't know what the word is even for the Packers at this point, but I could see him just taking over the starting spot for at least the rest of the season. Because like realistically, what do they have to play for? You'd probably want to just put him in control, maybe let him play some fun games, but ultimately lose. And if the outcome is the same as what you'd get with Wentz, then why not just do it with a more fun quarterback who clearly the team seems to rally around a lot more than Wentz.
Yeah, and Ellinger, I mean, we'll see, but I don't know. He strikes me as the Taysom Hill type more than that's it. I mean, Taylor Heineke, even if he's not good, at least he slings it a little bit.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Tough to know. Tough for Matt Ryan too. It's not how you want it to end, but
yeah.
At the end of the day, if you knew the Colts roster was going to perform like this, for better or for worse, it probably wasn't going to work out for Matt Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind though is Matt Ryan for a 7th to Atlanta.
Send him home.
I mean, we're in the playoff mix. Why not? I mean, you got London Pitts. The offensive line is working fine. No, but I think Mariota is playing well enough within the scheme, but it's fun to think about how different the offense would look with Matt Ryan, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Pitts and London would be doing a lot better, but Mariota, even though he's not the answer, adds a lot of stuff that isn't captured. It's interesting. Like for example, I just think everyone talks about the run game for Atlanta. The biggest thing I think for Atlanta right now is if they throw the ball, they only throw it 40 yards downfield. I mean, you saw this week they had an 80-yard touchdown, which is as good as Matt Ryan is. It just, I don't think that fits what they want to do right now. It would be a completely different offense. So who knows? Next up, marquee game of the day. I mean, who's not excited? I'm hyped. This is at 4:00 too, because 4:00 window, usually gets a little sleepy, it's a little rough. Giants at the Seahawks. This is going to be a great game.
Oh yeah.
Currently Seahawks -3, 70% of the cash on Seattle. I'm riding with the Seahawks. It's tough. I mean, like I said at the start, I think Metcalf not playing, it's going to be rough, because I do think as good as Gino's playing, those receivers are awesome and a way better indicator of this team's success than most people give credit for.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard not to start believing more and more that the Giants are not just a team that wins game. They are a good team. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been fading the Giants pretty much every week up to this point, but I think I've seen enough. I really do think I've seen enough. The only thing that concerns me is that I think I said it last week, the Giants will play you tight and then they'll wait for you to make a mistake. They'll wait for you to kind of shoot yourself in the foot. But the way that the Seahawks play, they don't really, as crazy as it sounds, they don't make a lot of mistakes either. They, Gino's been playing incredibly well, efficient. And I mean, Kenneth Walker, my gosh, like he's probably going to be like the dude in fantasy, like kind of like the James Robinson of a few years ago, where it's like, wow, like if you missed out on him, I'm sorry to hear that, because whoever picked him up is now in their fantasy playoffs. Like he is the guy. Like it's really awesome to see. But they're just gonna, I think they're gonna do what they always do, and it's gonna be super close, and they probably won't deserve to win, but I think they'll just find a way to scratch it out. The Seahawks don't strike me as the kind of team that are the kryptonite to the Giants. I think that the kryptonite to the Giants are the teams that just come out and, score 14, 21 points in the first half, and then the Giants have a bit of a hill to climb. But again, they did it against the Packers, and again, the Packers stink, but they at least showed that they're capable of coming back and putting together drive after drive and slowly churn away deficit. So I feel good about it from a matchup perspective, from a past games, what I've seen so far perspective. But who knows? Maybe the Seahawks just are legitimately good. And I really do think they are a legitimately good football team. But they don't scare me enough to where at this point I'd go against the team that I watch on a weekly basis. So it's fun. And quick point, it is nice to see some of the Giants skill guys other than Saquon Barkley actually start to step up. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson, despite only being like 5'9", is what I think we all thought Kadarius Toney was going to be for them. Just a dude who you can line up anywhere. And it's just going to, he's going to be an absolute target funnel. So it's been cool to see that work out as well. A few injuries on the O-line, which is tough, but I mean, Danny Dimes has found a way to overcome it regardless. So I'm feeling pretty good about them. But at the end of the day, I'll let you, you have the more clear vision with less bias here. So I'll let you make the final call. But I feel good. And it's taken 8 weeks now for me to confidently say I feel good. But I was hesitant for a reason. But hey, we're here and look at us now. So I'm not going to back down just yet.
Yeah, I think I got the Giants down with the Metcalf injury. But
yeah,
the hallmark would be Geno. But I think Jones is playing at a top 10 level right now too. So I don't think it's as big as an advantage as it might seem. Maybe the cross country trip, but we'll see. You saw, I don't know, Vegas has Giants, I think, ranked 25th right now.
Yeah, that's
Falcons,
fine.
Falcons 24th.
Keep disrespecting us.
It's tough. I mean, at some point they might have like, I'm hoping Falcons Giants round 1 in MetLife.
Oh,
it's certainly possible.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That'd be a great game. For all the haters.
That'd be awesome.
Wan'Dale looks good too. Yeah, I didn't like it just because it seems like all these short receivers have been horrible recently.
No, totally. But
he looks actually good.
They don't, and they're not using him. I think like some other teams use like the short receivers. Like I mean, he actually I guess they are to an extent, but he, unlike most of these small receivers, doesn't play like a small receiver. Like, I don't know if you saw at one play, he got absolutely demolished off the middle. Yeah. Like that was horrifying. And he got up, shook his head, went on the sideline, and was back like a drive, like not even a drive later, like maybe like a snap or two later. So like he's tough, and I think that's what kind of separates him from some of the other dudes with the similar play style. So I mean, if Kadarius Toney ever decided to get things straight, it would be even more fun of an offense than it is right now. Because again, they're not going to.
Slayton's rolling. They should have been playing. I've liked Slayton. I never understood that.
It's always so steady.
It's the prototypical. I mean, the thing about receivers is how I like to view it. You want roles. It's like a basketball team. You don't want 3 alphas. And Slayton, I mean, he could fit on any offense in the NFL.
Totally.
Got it.
Totally.
Nevertheless, I'm really excited for that because I think they're one of the few teams in the NFL playing real football right now. So I'm excited. We'll see. We'll come back for part 2. 3 games left, and then get to a fancy corner mailbag.